We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
I'm Danielle.
And we're here for another great morning. It is Tuesday morning, and we've been in a great conversation on yesterday. The comments were coming in. The conversation was great. We were talking about emotional triggers and what we do with these things in terms of overcoming them so that we can live a better life. You know, That's ultimately what it's about.
Yes, I want to welcome everybody. Make sure that when you come in that you like, share, and subscribe. If you have not already done so, please hit that notification bell that makes sure that you never miss a show. And by the likes of who I see in the chat, you guys have already done that. We're going to wait till a few more people come in before I acknowledge, because I like to acknowledge everyone. And you know what ends up happening is that in the second segment, everybody's like, hey, I'm here from so-and-so, and I never get a chance to acknowledge them. So we're going to do that on the second half. But thank you guys for joining us this morning.
All right, let's just jump right into this conversation because we want to make sure that we leave enough room and time to unpack it all. There are some questions that have come in and we want to hit those questions. And we said if we don't get a chance to answer it the day of, we'll make sure that we'll put that at the top of the show so that we can have some great dialogue. So as we do this, feel free to drop those questions in the chat or privately text us at 678-200-8996. Let's get into it. Medina B says, what's the best way to be sensitive to your partner's triggers and help them to not have them as often or to ease the triggers for them? It's a very good question. I think it's important because obviously the person who has the trigger, there's a role that they have to play. But as the supporting partner who may have been responsible for creating some of those triggers, it's important that you assist as well. I'll just start and then I know Danielle will come back with something powerful. But listen, for a lot of your spouses or partners, you are the trigger. Right? You are the trigger. And so in essence, you have to be careful about your actions. Like, for instance, some people hold on to the same behaviors that they had while they were in an affair. So let's just say that you're just a secretive, private person and, you slip out in the middle of the night and, you're hiding your communication and things of that nature. Well, that's triggering because, wait a minute, that's what you were doing before and you still continue to do that. And so you have to be mindful to be open to change some of your behaviors and to live a transparent life. That's one way that you can help reduce the triggers that your spouse has.
I agree. Also, just getting educated on what triggers really are. Most of the time, we just are ignorant to it. We want our partner to race through healing, and we don't understand that they have to go through phases of healing. And when it comes to triggers, you can either you'll probably go through all 3 phases at some point, but it's great to be able to identify where you are. Are you in the constriction mode, where you are avoiding, where you are numb, where you can't feel any emotion? Are you in the intrusion phase where you have all these thoughts that bombard you and take over you? You can't sleep. You're having nightmares and dreams with all these thoughts that are coming to your mind. And then there is hyperarousal. Hyperarousal is when you are, just super alert in everything your partner is doing. You're suspicious. You can't trust them. Where are they going? What are they doing? So if you understand what's going on, then that would allow you to be a little bit more empathetic as you learn, you watch, you see, you identify, and you act accordingly.
Yeah. And guys, listen, what I will say is a lot of this is great information. Like when you watch the show or when you read an article or when you watch a YouTube channel, when you read the word, anything that you come across that really impacts the topic is good head knowledge. But at the end of the day, information is no good without proper application. So you really want to, break down what it is that we're saying and say, well, how does this apply to me? And what can I do? And how can I add this as something that will help me to overcome what I'm currently going through? We were going to get into some tips yesterday, and we're going to mix tips with questions. But one of the things that you can do regarding your triggers is keep a trigger journal. In essence, name the trigger. Okay, because once you have identified what the trigger is, the trigger less catches you off guard. It doesn't, because the reality is, listen, when you enter into the world, work, if you're driving down the street, if you go to a restaurant to eat, there's always going to be something that you did not anticipate.
Right.
And then when you are triggered by something new, add that to your list.
Right.
And the reason why you want to do it is that you want to spend some time with it. Like the more you look at it and read it and analyze it and break it down, the less fear you have of it. And now you begin to operate in a space where, you know what, Joker, I see you coming. I'm even anticipating you. So when you come, it's not going to affect me. The trigger.
Person, right.
The trigger. Right.
Because you said Joker.
Well, the trigger is a Joker.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
But to that point, you know, we want to actually be able to identify what those things are that are triggering us so that we can try to untrigger ourselves, allow our spouse to be a partner with us to help untrigger the environment in many cases. And really, you have to actually learn to sit with your triggers. That is a growth point, right? In the beginning, these triggers take you by storm. You know, you were overtaken by these triggers. You are shocked by these triggers and you don't know what to do with them. As you develop and grow in this process, the goal is for you to be able to sit in those triggers and feel the anxiety for set amounts of time and then release yourself from it and then sit in it for a little bit longer until you don't have the same relationship with the trigger. And that is just really a process that you go through to become stronger as you're going through your healing process.
Yeah. Another thing that's important to do when you have a trigger is to notice your hyperarousal signs. Like, how are you reacting in the moment? Does your heart begin to patter? Are you palpitating? Are you sweating? Are your palms sweaty? You know, are you breathing heavy? Are you losing energy? Do you have to sit down? Like, what is your body telling you? You know, we talk about how there's 4 aspects of who we are with the quadrinity identity. Quad meaning 4 parts of your identity. There's the spiritual identity, the emotional identity, the intellectual identity, and then there's the physical identity, your physical body. And all 4 parts of these identities are communicating. They're delivering a message. And so the question is, what is your body telling you? Because once you become consciously aware of what your body's telling you, maybe you can do something to shift the energy and to take advantage of the space that you're in so it doesn't begin to control you.
Yeah, and it's a great place to start with dialogue, right? Like if I can talk to you about my hyper arousal experience and you can have some level of empathy to help me rationalize what I'm feeling. Because it's an emotion, right? So it feels real to me. Like whatever it is that I'm feeling, if I'm afraid, if I'm suspicious, it feels very real to me. And so if I can go to Hassani and express that to him and he can actually soothe me, that's really helpful. I think where we go wrong is we get frustrated. You know, it's just like, oh, we've been down this road before. Here we go again. I told you I'm not doing the same thing that I used to do. All those kinds of defenses come up in the midst of someone going through a trigger, which ends up shutting us down even further. So really being able to be aware of how you're experiencing the trigger and then your partner being able to hear you and understand you really helps take you a long way.
Yeah. And another thing is this, like, if you're the one who's triggered and I've noticed certain patterns, like, okay, I see you grinding your teeth again. Okay, something must be going on. Or your fist is clenching for some reason. And I'm paying attention to your body language. I don't have to say, hey, are you okay? Hey, what's going on? I can just react and respond, not react, but respond accordingly to help soothe you and be there for you. Because listen, as we talked about before, when it comes to communication, 70% of your communication is nonverbal. It's facial expressions, it's body language, it's gestures. And as a supportive spouse, going back to that question, how can you help your partner with their triggers? By studying them. Become a student of your partner. Know their good times and their bad times. Know when they're happy, know when they're sad. Notice their moods and know how to accommodate them. And if you don't know, ask them, listen, when you're going through this, do you want space and distance? Do you want to be left alone? Do you want me to dive in?
I mean, really, like ask because sometimes I don't really need you to hold me right now. Sometimes I actually do need you to give me the space. And if you're that sensitive, I mean, I got to go back to this because we get to do this on our own. And it is our responsibility to actually fight for our own healing. But when our spouse can hear us, can have empathy, sympathy, and understanding. And I'm talking to all of you out there who may have been the offending partners and you're like, what do I do? How do I deal with his or her triggers? How do we move past this? It's not by racing to the finish line. It's actually by slowing down and be a participant in the healing journey of your hurt spouse. And that means actually asking questions and listening, and sometimes sitting in a very uncomfortable position where your spouse needs to let you know again and again how much you hurt them. Just be there and listen. And that goes such a long way.
It absolutely does. When you begin to do that, you feel like, man, my partner understands me. We're in sync. Things are flowing. Because truth be told, if you don't have these conversations and if you don't take the time to ask, well, how do you want me to show up for you? A lot of men in particular, the seven, listen, there's one word that every woman on the planet uses. You think they read it in a book somewhere, but they didn't.
What word is this?
But all women are looking for, the words are interchangeable. Either safety, I want to feel safe, or I want to feel secure,
Yep,
right?
you're right?
Either one of those words. Now, the 7 words that every man uses when they're stuck is this: I just don't know what to do.
What is up with that?
The 7 words. I just don't know what to do.
What's up
It's
with
just
that?
because we don't, because
Y'all need to hear this, ladies.
we
They
don't know. And you assume that we should know,
So tell
but we
them,
don't know.
right?
We can't read your minds. And so sometimes you have to sit down, not in a frustrated attitudinal way, and I'm going to tell you like it is, and you need to know what time
I'm
it
going
is.
to tell
and
you
we've been
one
together for 7
more
years.
time.
No, that
Let
don't
me
work.
break it down to you like you're a kindergartner. Let's not do that, right? Because then all of our defenses go up. But yes, it is about having that open, honest, transparent communication so that we can hear each other and heal together. Because the truth is, if I've hurt my spouse and they're still broken, then we are still broken. So we got to do this together, folks.
Guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. We'll be right back after this quick announcement.
Welcome back, everybody. You're watching the Couples Academy show, and I want to go over here to the comments and acknowledge some folks. JG, good morning. Kia Bello, hello. Debbie from, good morning, Debbie. You didn't tell us where you were from. Michael Nelson from Virginia, good morning. Clarence from Cleveland, Ohio. Good morning, Corey. Good morning, Steve Johnson. Good morning, Ronald and Taisha from Birmingham, Alabama. Guys, you guys are coming in from all over the country, so just make sure you continue to share this message. We want to get this out to as many people as you can. Subscribe, like, and share as soon as you get a chance. And if you haven't done so, do it right now. I'm going to go to this comment here from D Faison. He says, good morning, Dave from Philly. That is a solid question. Show up well, thoughtful, and considerate each day. Thank you. And we are proponents of that. We're going to go here to Slaps Trap Radio. Good morning from Detroit. You guys are such inspiration. God bless you both. Right back at you. JD, good morning. Good morning, Rachel. She says, what is that? Hashtag name the trigger. So good.
Yeah, somebody said it's like a game. Oh, it was like a game show. Name that trigger. And you know what? I get that, but it's important to do that because you want to own and control the trigger, not to have the trigger own and control you.
Absolutely. Norina says, always triggered. Started writing it down when it happened and what caused it. I also started reading the book Danielle recommended, Healing is a Choice. I'm tired of being so angry and not trusting. It's exhausting. And it really is exhausting. And, you know, we talk about this all the time, that sometimes people have poor me syndrome, right? And this is not an indictment on people who do have poor me syndrome because they got that way through a lot of hurt, right? But at some point, our hurt tends to turn itself around when we have that syndrome. And now we're gaining something from it, right? We get sympathy and acknowledgement for all of our hurt. And so we tend to stay in that broken place. Healing is a Choice is a powerful book that actually just examines all these things that we think about the hurt that we've experienced. And it tells you 10 truths, right? So we do have a choice to heal. And it isn't always predicated upon what other people do. Sometimes people die and they left you hurt. You still have to be responsible for your own healing.
So true. Chichira I'm telling you, folks, I have my glasses like literally before we. Can you?
There is so much info out there for the offended partner, but not for the offenders who want to change or guidance to show up different. Thank you guys for guidance and words of wisdom, not just for the offended, but for the offender. God bless you and your ministry. You are changing lives. Thank you.
That's an important point, because I think there's such a focus to that person's point on one partner. And, you know, so interesting, because I was in a session last night and I really had to check in with the husband. I said, you know what, typically in these sessions, we do focus on your wife and how she's feeling and what she's going through and how you're really accommodating her. But what about you? Because at the end of the day, I said, if you're broken and if you're hurt, you can't be any good to your wife, to your kids. You can't. And we talked about this on previous shows, how oftentimes the offender, they're dealing with a whole lot of pain. You know, they're worn thin. They're having sleepless nights, having conversations in the middle of the night. They can't function or focus on their job. They begin to experience health conditions. And you know, because the affair is the main, topic of discussion, it seems like the rest of their world stops, though life doesn't stop. Things still go on. So other things start to pile up all around them. And it's just a lot. It's a lot. And there's a support system that they need. And so, listen, we're here to help any way we can. And so when these topics of conversation come up on a daily basis, if there's information you want to know, if you are the offender, of how you can begin to become the best version of yourself and how you need to show up and what support you need, that's exactly what we're here to do.
Yeah, thank you. Corey from Nashville, it's like everything I say or do becomes a trigger for my wife. I start getting to the root of my problems and she view everything as a joke or an excuse. And I get mad because of her response. And now we're arguing instead of conversing like adults. And I just don't know how to show her I'm not making excuses.
What do you say about that?
I got to process what I just read. It takes me 5 seconds.
Where's the Jeopardy music?
You know what?
Folks?
Okay, got it. Downloaded. So it's how can you show her that I'm not making excuses? It sounds like two things are going on, right? She probably has a lot of deep-rooted hurt from years and years of dealing with issues, right? She's no longer listening. She's no longer even interested in whatever attempt that you might be making to show her that you're changing. Consistency. Okay? That's how you show her that you're not making excuses. And also maybe don't make excuses, right? Because if she thinks you're making excuses, that indicates that there's something to be excused, right? So we talked about this last night on our Moving Forward group about how, for me, when Hassani started to show me a new person, I really wasn't interested. I wasn't even looking. I didn't care. I had a tremendous amount of apathy because of years of experiencing the same thing. And so when I finally saw consistent change, that's when I looked up. That's when I showed interest. And that's when I wanted to get on the bandwagon, because I'm seeing this dude becoming a new person, a happy person, full of joy, full of life. And he was doing that without me. I wanted to be a part of that.
Absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. Gwendolyn says, good morning. What to do if your partner will not get help for their triggers and just continues to lash out? You know, so this is a tricky thing, because as anyone would say in a recovery process, you can't control the pace at which your partner goes, right? But at the same time, it's just like, good God, it's been a long time. At what point do you say, get yourself together?
Yeah.
Like, so the question
there
is
balance.
There's balance, right? There's
Yeah.
balance. And oftentimes the offender wants to pick up the pace. The offended wants to slow down because they're not ready. And this is why you need, there's support groups, right, that are encouraging to people who are the offended one to help them along the way. And this is why peer pressure is so important. See, peer pressure is not just a bad thing. It could be a good thing. And if you're surrounded by people who have been where you are and you see, wow, they're getting it together, they're working on themselves, they're pursuing things in life, they have a new lease for life, they're becoming healthier, they're becoming healed and restored, then that begins to encourage that person to do what they need to do. So help them get involved in a community that can take their life to the next level.
Absolutely. Rhea says, hey there from beautiful Australia. Good morning, Marlene. Good to see you. Zach, good morning from Ohio. Jocelyn from Colorado. Rachel says, I love the book, Healing is a Choice. Yes, it's by Stephen Otterburn. If you're struggling with healing, if you're struggling with forgiveness, grab the book. It's time for us to become the leaders in our own transformation. We're going to stop waiting for somebody else to do something and do it for ourselves. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're going to be right back after this quick break.
Sign up today for the Better Marriage Club and receive exclusive access to the private Facebook group to get your questions answered and your problems solved. Access to our marriage library of live seminars. Watch the Couples Academy Daily Show. Call the help hotline for laser coaching. Get our weekly action guides and receive a private one-on-one call with one of our marriage coaches. To join the Better Marriage Club, simply text MARRIAGE to 973-490-4668. Join today. Your marriage deserves it. Hey guys, we're back. You're listening to the Couples Academy Show. We're talking about techniques to overcome emotional triggers. So we want to get back to this list. Listen, this is a real powerful one we want you to consider. You have to practice knowing and showing your emotions. Now, interestingly enough, we have a tendency to want to show anger, rage, sadness, things of that nature. But the reality is there's another side to it. You know, it's so interesting. I heard someone once say it's weird to show happiness. And actually, when I felt a little bit of joy and wanted to laugh, I took it back and felt bad because I'm like, should I be happy right now? I should be pissed right now.
Right.
And so you don't allow yourself for the best version of you to come out because of the situation that you're in. But the way that you get out, the way that you catapult out of it is by tapping into those emotions and practicing them.
That's that poor me syndrome again, right? Where you're like, if I show them I'm happy, then they might think that this is over. They might think that I'm whole and healed, and I can't have them thinking that because I don't want them to step out of line. I don't want them to slip, right? But you hold yourself back from things. And man, it's such a powerful practice to actually pretend. I mean, we used to do this as children. We would imagine things. You have to begin to pretend and act the thing that you want to accomplish. So if you don't feel loving, begin to practice acting loving. If you want romance, begin to practice acting romantic. It feels awkward in the beginning. Remember the whole holding hands thing? Like how some people really don't feel comfortable even touching anymore. It's been so long, right? But in the beginning, there was so much chemistry in the holding of the hand. So begin to practice what it is that you want to experience.
And it's said another way, because this is exactly what we do. It's this. Write this down, folks. Live within when you're without. If you are without love and romance and excitement and passion and fun and lightheartedness, live within. Like whatever you want to experience outside of your physical body with your partner, experience it within yourself.
Yeah, begin within, which is basically imagining and creating that and then acting as if, right? So that what's inside eventually naturally comes out of you. You know, the Bible talks about our eyes are the windows of the soul.
Yes.
Also, out of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? So you're not going to put out in the world what's not already in you. So cultivate what you desire within and then live that out. And then you'll see the change.
And when you watch this video again, listen to that. Like hear this segment, pause, listen to it again, hear this segment, pause, listen to it again, because it sounds good, but some people are like, okay,
right?
all right.
Right.
If it was that easy,
it is that easy.
It's simple.
True. Let's change that. It's
simple. Not
maybe
easy.
Not easy.
It's simple. And everything has to be broken down in a simplistic way for you to believe that it's possible. And when you work it, I'm telling you, things begin to change. Think about this. Have you ever prayed? Have you ever been in worship and come out of that experience feeling different? Regardless of what your circumstances were around you, you felt there was this lightness, this was this connection you had. That's the same thing that happens when you're living within, when you're without. And then all of a sudden you show up with a different energy and everything around you begins to change. All right, the next point, and this is a huge one. Don't fight the inner voice. See, the reality is there's so many voices screaming at you. There's the voice of the trigger. There's the voice of your friends and supporters and cheerleaders who may be giving you information that don't serve you or your relationship. There's the voice of the media. There's the voice of that YouTube video or that Instagram post that, really justified us feeling the way that we feel in the first place. but don't deny or fight the inner voice. That inner voice is the Holy Spirit speaking to you. It is God whispering to you. And one thing about that, he doesn't yell, he doesn't scream, he's not obnoxious. It's a still, soft, small voice. And when you slow down and begin to listen to it and allow it to lead and guide you, trust me, the triggers that you have will all fall down to the ground because God is bigger than that trigger.
It's great for you to actually identify the different voices. You know, you might have an inner critic that's always got something negative to say. And we actually tend to listen to that inner critic a lot because that voice is a culmination of voices over the years that have told you what you aren't and told you what you can't. When you go through some level of hurt and pain, that voice gets really loud, reminding you, saying, see, I told you so. But what you could do is you can write down the different voices, the different thoughts, and then look at them and do the work to identify the truth. Okay? That is where you can differentiate who the Holy Spirit truly is, because the Holy Spirit's going to tell you the truth about a matter. And you can look at those voices and say, okay, that ain't right because that's some negative stuff that I heard a long time ago. I can release that. And this isn't right because I actually created this story because I needed to close a loop. So let's move that over here. Well, this is true. This is historically true. This is what God says about me. This is what I know about me. And that'll really be a great grounding place for you so that you know who you are in this process. Because things get really confusing when you're dealing with these triggers, depending on where you are and how you're experiencing it. Sometimes you feel like you're crazy. Sometimes you feel like you're making all this up, especially when you don't have somebody who's on your team saying, no, I got you. I'm here to support you. So make sure you're able to identify those different voices.
Clarence says, my partner never wants to face the truth on what caused the triggers. So I continue to work on myself. Now that's causing more problems. Yeah. It's so difficult when you're in that stuck season where you're willing to do the work and your partner is not. You know, we talk about this all the time. Your soulmate will become your cellmate when one of you refuses to grow. Yeah. And that's sometimes how we feel. We're stuck in a marital prison. And so at the end of the day, here's the fact of the matter. Whatever side of the offense that you're on, your focus has been so much on your partner making changes and your partner doing right. And when my partner going to get him or herself together. And at the end of the day, there's nothing that you can do that can control your partner at all. The only thing you can do is work on you. And I'm not talking about becoming selfish and now you're making it all about me and you're swinging the pendulum in the opposite direction with badness. But we're talking about you focusing on your healing, you becoming whole, and you showing up in a different way. Because at the end of the day, when you change you, your partner has to show up differently because you're different. So if they're showing up different to your difference, then you're indirectly changing your partner. And that's really what it's all about.
Here's a comment from JD. He says, I struggle with understanding when God speaks to me or when it's my inner wants and thoughts. And who doesn't struggle with that? But there's a really powerful scripture that I lean on when I think about, okay, how do I figure this out? The Bible tells us to test the spirits, right? And so when I think of that, I'm thinking, okay, all these different voices, you know, the cartoon with the angel on one shoulder and the devil with the pitchfork on the other. It's like, do the good, do the bad. You can actually test it by aligning it with the truth of the word of God. That's how you test it.
Bingo.
You test it. If this is all me and it's only my wants, sometimes my wants actually will align with the word of God. Okay, that's the goal. But you know you're out of line if your stuff is way in left field somewhere and it's just out of order. And that's how you do it. You test the spirits by aligning it with the word. That is the truth. And if it aligns, that's a good indication that you're hearing from the Spirit.
And real talk, like don't just flip the Bible open and say, all right, well, what am I going to read today? All right, Proverbs 36. And then tomorrow, 1 Corinthians chapter 7. No, sometimes you have to study.
Yeah,
you got to get in deep. You got to search. You got to research, you got to unpack it, you got to break it down, analyze it, put it back together, then ask God for revelation and then talk to other people and then get resources. Like you want to become a student of it because the more knowledgeable you are of that word, then the voice that you're hearing becomes crystal clear and you know what to tune out. You're like, no, devil, I hear you. You trying it, but I know the word because the enemy will speak to you too. And he'll take the word that you think you know and twist it just a little bit and you think it's God and it's not. That's why you have to be a student, folks. And when you begin to do that, everything begins to change. Listen, that's our show. We're wrapping up. But before we do, we want to remind you that March 27th is Sex After Betrayal Masterclass. The link is now available. Just simply go to the description of the video, click the link, sign up today. It will be well worth it. Now, you've asked for it. We listened to you. Now we put it together. If you're a member of the Moving Forward program, you know who you are. This is included in your membership. If you are not, you can click the link and register today, and then ask us how you can become a part of the Moving Forward program and all the benefits that come along with it. But listen, we want to have each and every one of you in the place to be. And guess what? If your partner won't come, still come, because I'm telling you, the information that you get in that masterclass, you can take back into your bedroom within your home to begin to change things around. Reach out to us, set up a discovery call, couplesacademy.org, 678-200-8996. Don't wait till the last moment. Stop procrastinating. Those who procrastinate are those who sit in complacency and continue to struggle with the things that they're struggling with. Make it happen, do something different, and let's get this thing. We'll see you in the morning.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
If you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you're interested in one of our restoration programs, contact us today at couplesacademy.org.